Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 40 already of Joe and Matty Talk New York Sports. And
I'll be
got a
happy we're
little
on
bit of,
an episode older than my age.
yeah.
These
Yeah, but
episodes in the
40,
40s are going to feel bad.
we've, because we've already been, it's already been a year of filming episodes that are posted. Because I think
Yeah.
that was like the first 2 weeks of June of last year of 2021 was our first one that we
Well,
posted. So it's a lot, but hopefully a lot more too. So,
yeah, and then this is kind of the dead time of year. I mean, we do have the NHL
yeah.
draft tonight, but as we sit here, nothing nothing's really hot for the Rangers as far as the draft goes, unless they do something at the draft. So we'll recap that afterwards. We do want to talk about
Yeah.
the Georgiev trade. I don't know how you feel, but for a player they know they couldn't even keep, the fact that they got 3 draft picks, the fact that they got anything for him is really incredible. I was expecting a late round pick just from the team who wanted him to not get to free agency first. Um, so I think it's a great job by Jury. Um, they were going to lose him anyway. They couldn't pay him,
Yeah.
and they end up with
Here's the
three
thing.
draft picks.
I like the 3 draft picks. I'm sad because like we knew it was Colorado, so I was kind of excited when I saw that because I thought they were gonna get like a possibly like a third or second line player winger. But
But
that's
come
I
on,
like
like
what they
who's
came out.
if you're any other team in the NHL and you know at 5 o'clock the Rangers have to release Georgiev, they can keep him because of salary cap. Everybody in the entire NHL, like that's why I'm sure if we go back in the podcast, I'm sure around the trade deadline, I was like, wow, I can't believe they didn't trade Georgiev. Now they're going to get nothing. I can't believe that, like that shows you how Colorado thinks he's that much good. Goalie just won you with an eye injury,
Would but
won
he's
you the
Darcy
Stanley.
Kemper's done though. Darcy Kemper's a free agent, so like
I know,
here's
coming
the
off
thing.
an eye injury, but they're taking
I
Georgiev. Like that's
I
a
think I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think Alexander Georgiev can be a starting goaltender. Like
oh, he certainly
he's
can.
not. The thing is, I think he's the best backup in the league. I mean, no one can convince me that. Maybe you could talk about guys like who had good seasons, like Antti Ranta with Carolina, or like
Another Ranger backup.
DeSmith with Pittsburgh because Jari was the number one. So like they had two, but
Yeah,
those are two.
I just can't believe that they created a market for somebody. Granted, Georgiev's had a bad year. The Rangers had zero leverage in the situation, and they were still able to get something decent. Now, look, who knows what you're going to get out of draft picks? I always
What
like
was it?
players.
What was the draft pick for? I know it was a third and a fifth this draft. What was it next year? I know it was one pick. Was it a third round?
I
I
want to
want to
say it
say it
was a.
was.
Oh, I think it was a third round. It was this because 2 of the picks were in the same round. But I mean, I don't know who. That means multiple teams were in on trying to get him, and like no one thought he'd come close to getting what they got. So
Let me
yeah,
see on it because I think that's if they got another third round pick for that.
yeah,
I
they
don't
got a
know why.
third, another third pick in 2023, a third and a
That's
fifth.
pretty.
Which
That's pretty good. I'm not gonna.
I
Look, you're
mean,
right.
I'll be
You
honest.
can't complain. You can't complain because look,
No, I
that's
think you got to be
two.
overly happy because
What is that? Two and a half
Colorado could have
million off the
said,
cap. That's 2.5 million,
but
right?
that, yeah, but that was gone anyway. The reason he was gone was the cap situation. They weren't going to sign him to a new contract. There's no way that they were going to match if someone gave a big contract. So everybody knew he was leaving the New York Rangers from the
Yeah.
All Star break. Everybody knew they were leaving. Yet somehow they still convinced Colorado to give him all that pick. Some other team must have been offering up stuff for
It's
Colorado to bid against, but it's crazy. I mean, I
well,
wish
it's
him
big,
no
and I
luck in
think
Colorado. I hope he averages giving up 5 goals a game, but
no. I hope
I
he.
think the
I hope he
Benoit
does well.
Alec
So it
effect
shows.
is again.
Yeah, because there's nothing that, and there's no doubt in my mind that he could end up like a Cam Talbot, Antti Ranta situation. Those guys who are in New York, he's a good goalie. It's just
He's just not systemic.
I didn't expect him to do well when he plays one game every 3 weeks. Like you could,
No,
there's just you
I
can't.
do. You were a little hard on him, but
Like
I do agree with you. A backup, you need goalies need
well,
to be
I
in a
was hard
rhythm
on
the
him
same.
because like some of these goals just suck. I mean, like literally he
Yeah,
would give up like those like dude, come on.
he gives up
Like
the bad
those
ones.
awful, but they
I
aren't
mean,
just bad. There were some awful goals he gave up this year,
yeah.
but I'll attribute that to not playing consistently. Like I just think he
Well,
didn't get he couldn't get
let's
his feet
just
wet.
say, great job, jury. Let's see what happens next. What do you think of Chris Letang staying with Pittsburgh? If
Yeah,
I were them, I would never give up Malkin. I think he's one of the best players ever in this
but they can't
generation.
pay both of them. That's
I
the
know,
thing.
but I'm
Who are
fine.
you keeping?
I'm
I'm
shocked.
keeping Malkin if I'm them over
Yeah,
Letang. He's just a
I mean,
defenseman. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not like, look, he might be a Hall of Fame
he doesn't.
defenseman,
But
but Evgeny
Malkin's
Malkin's
an
one of the
all.
best scorers ever. I mean,
Yeah, it's
so
ridiculous. But who knows? I mean, we'll see if they're right. But
who do
then
you want?
I am very curious to see what happens with Malkin. Like I can't believe he's leaving Pittsburgh. That just
Well, who do
seems
you want?
crazy.
Who would you like? Here's my thing, because like if we think about it, ultimately, if you tie some names of what have been drawn, so I'll give a select group of guys that are all being considered to join the Rangers or have been linked, blah, blah, blah. We know Capo Caco is very close to a bridge deal. That sounds like it's going to work itself out. But there, Dylan Larkin, Sean Monahan, Evgeny Malkin, JT
I don't
Miller,
want. Like if
um,
you gave me my choice, all things being equal,
Vinny Trocheck, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Scheifele. I'm trying to think of other guys that have been linked. Obviously, Stromer Cop. That's another scenario to keep.
before we came on, I sent you that article on SNY how they're in on JT Miller, and for me, getting someone like JT Miller, yeah, it'd be great for next season, but they're not going to be able to sign him to a long-term deal, so it's a rental. So
Well, let me tell
it's
you
a
this though. JT Miller scored more points than Artemi Panarin scored.
yeah, he
JT
had
Miller scored nearly
99 points,
100 points. Yeah, like
and JT Miller. Obviously,
it's not on a good team. The Canucks are not a good team. Like,
and I haven't seen him in a couple years, but when he played with the Rangers, I loved JT Miller because he was friggin' tough. He played with the right playoff attitude. I loved JT Miller when he was here. I was sad to lose. We heard great stories of JT Miller hanging out at the bars in our neighborhood too. But I love JT Miller. But bottom line is, if you make a trade for JT Miller, that means you can't keep him in the future unless you're willing to give up Keandre Miller or Lafreniere. All these guys
or
who are going to be
even
signed a year from it now. So I don't even think he's a. I mean, I know they keep saying he's an option, but what if he goes? Someone like Panarin or there's someone else has to go to accommodate.
yeah. Well for today's episode. I wanted to pull up because I have obviously there's a variety of cap websites out there that you could look at that.
The cap only going up 1 million is a killer because there's cap problems all over the league. This is not this year I would want to be a free agent to be if I'm a hockey player.
Yeah, well, I think we've got a lot this year. There's a lot of guys.
They get a lot of
actually this
next year. They
could
get
be
about
good.
$3 million in dead cap savings from all. I feel like it's Ryan McDonough, all the buyouts that they did in that flurry of moves. That all ends next year, but still, $3 million ain't going to do much. You're going to have
Yeah, well
bridge deals,
here
Keandre Miller, like they need the cap to go up pretty good next year to maintain the team.
So I mean the big thing with guys right now, so I could go quickly through the lineup so we can look at who's really gonna like what the team who's gonna be there next year,
Yep.
barring a big trade.
Yep.
Obviously, Panarin, 11 million a year. He'll be an unrestricted free agent at this point in 2026-27, which is
I thought you were
love to hear
saying.
that.
I was like next year. What? I thought he was
No, this
signed
is
here
for next year, like where we're locked down. Because I looked at this the other
I
day. I
saw
didn't
some
really know
bad news
much.
for you. I saw someone talking about the future of the cap, and they were like, "How do you sign all these young players?" And they're like, they were calling out Trouba and Kreider's no trade deals change in a couple years where they are eligible to be traded, and that's
Well,
when
here's the difference. If we're gonna throw Kreider's name in there, my thing about Trouba, and yes, we've had this argument before, but at the end of the day, you look at the guy's years. Chris Kreider, what he makes $6.5 million a year. He just scored 52 goals, so that
Yeah.
literally suits the contract. Now, yes, I know this is one season.
That he outperformed his contract this year. We'll see, because this year was like
I would say
ever done.
2021 he did too. I would say 2000. We'll see what he does this year. If he goes above 40
He's
goals,
always
that's
been good in the
great.
playoffs.
Yes,
But we'll
but
see.
if we're gonna talk about Trouba,
I don't think anyone thinks he's a consistent 50 goal scorer though.
no, that's
If he scores 50
great
goals
for him.
again, then someone's going to think that the coaching staff did an incredible job changing who Kreider, how he plays. Like he was unbelievable in front of the net, but I don't think he could get those kind of numbers again.
Well, he's 6.5 through 2027-28, which is great because that was a long time away. But if we're being honest, I've had my differences with Jacob Trouba, but he did not play like an $8 million defenseman this year. And I'm going to tell you, like Adam Fox is what, 9.5, I think he is a year. And you see, like I get Trouba the way he plays, but he's really his contract is really hurting the Rangers right now. Because he's not an $8 million
as bad as
defenseman.
some of the grenades in the past. But what's hurting a lot of these teams is you can't maintain all these good players. Look at where the Rangers are headed. They have Panarin is a high price player. Fox is a high price player, but their goalie, which just was the best goalie in the league, he's not being paid like a superstar. Like they had.
And
the salary cap is not enough to accommodate one mistake.
So here's where you run into the dilemma. The 2023-24 season, which is not this coming one, the one after.
Yeah, who cares about
you're gonna have I know, but this is like it's not even just a cap crunch now. That's if you keep Hedl. Hedl is then a free agent. Then Blake.
Let's
then
not worry about years in advance because who knows what's going to happen this year. We also don't know where the salary cap will be next year after a full year of attendance and I think a very positive television run for hockey.
Oh my God. And the Rangers going through the playoffs too, like it was very good, but the thing
Colorado, I think it was a good market to do good. But look, let's not go too far into the future. I can't stand speculating years out.
No, but I'm saying though, like my point is that we have a cap crunch now, but if we want to talk about future and talk about Miller, Lafreniere, Hedl, those guys are all free agents after this season. So like, it's not going to get easier.
They're all restricted at least, so you could get those bridge deals, but it's a problem.
Well, you're right with the long-term contracts. It hurts when you're not getting consistency. We've seen that in baseball. We've seen that in other sports.
But baseball doesn't have a cap. Baseball, you could make a tremendous mistake, and it hurts your owner in his pocket, but there's no real salary cap. You can't get around it. I mean, we've all seen the NFL. Like, look at the Rams. They get around the salary cap. They're hemorrhaging their future. Like, in a couple years, I imagine all these crazy deals that they've made with, bonuses up front is going to catch up with them, but
well, you look, and the problem is what stinks is that whenever championship teams are built, they're going to have to be broken apart. And I think we're seeing that with Tampa because they're going to lose Andre Palat, and they've lost Ryan McDonough.
And last year they did the cheating thing where they had a guy basically on IR till the playoffs who was a multi-million-dollar player. I'm looking up cap space right now.
But think about that though. If I'm thinking about that realistically, a Tampa Bay team without Palat and McDonough, I don't think can win a Stanley Cup. That's how important those two pieces are.
Well, and that's up to the GM to try to find replacement pieces.
Your decor, Ryan McDonough is a very good top 4 defenseman on that team.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir here.
Here's
the funny: the Tampa Bay Lightning are $175,000 over the cap with only 19 players on their roster, and they still got to pay for 4 players. So they still got finagling to do. The Sabres have $34 million in cap. They still have to sign 7 players. Detroit Red Wings have $34 million in cap.
And space.
They still have 5 players not on the roster. When you look at the Rangers, they have 17 of 23 players on the roster with $10 million in cap space. For competition, Penguins got $15 million left. Hurricanes have $20 million in cap space, but they have 7 players to sign.
Here, well, you look though at the we know the Kreider's 6.5. I don't know. I think Zibanejad's up in the 8s. I know Truba's up in the 8s. Panarin's at 11, which shocked me now looking back at the time that they signed him for $11 million. But he's obviously hit that mark. Zibanejad deserves it. Fox deserves it. Kreider deserves it. And I'm not trying to. We all know it. I'm not trying to go after Truba, but that's really the contract that's kind of hurting you a little bit. It is though.
But what is so? What is he? If he's worth $6.5 million, what are you going to do with that extra $1.5 million? You can't get anything. You get a Ryan Reeves.
Yeah, but think about it.
It's not moving the needle.
But with $1.5 million, that can make
one of those guys who don't play at all. Like it's a complete loss.
Well, $1.5 million right now means that you could, if they really wanted to sign Cop and they had $1.5 million more than they do now, that would make it so much easier to sign 5.5. Though it would, because that's what they need to do.
$1 million out of $81 million. That what is not a big deal.
They're going to have
very
to trade
small percentage of your cap space. So you could argue Truba's worth $6 million, but he's not a net zero. So he's not killing them.
I think the best bet for the
first time in a long time don't have any contracts that are killing them. I mean, there are guys that you'd like to see go, but anyway, let's not talk about the salary cap
to cover that. I mean, to end it there with that topic, I think is like the best case scenario would be to trade a guy like Jacob Trouba for the future, because you have so many good young defensemen.
Yeah, I mean, if you think put yourself in the other team's shoes. If you're a Ranger fan and you're saying he's overpaid, why would they take that contract? Unless you're going to give up more. So it's you got to look at.
I'm sure someone would take him for if we lose in return. If we lose the trade, if we trade a player like Trouba and we're not getting anything, basically a bag of chips, then I'm sure they would.
Hang on one sec.
I mean, but I'm sure, like, Trouba, you could trade for a bag of chips, though, I swear. Definitely. I mean, he is not talented.
We're back. Dinner. Well, let's finish. The Rangers, we'll see what happens with the cap. We'll get back to them. Yankees, I mean, they destroyed Pittsburgh last night, but they've come back down to earth a little.
Yeah.
I still feel no confidence, despite their record, that they're going to roll through the playoff teams. That Astros series makes me nervous. A team like the Braves, the Dodgers, who just will roll out pitchers and then they won't hit.
Of those teams.
But they don't.
What I'm afraid of is the Yankees
hit in the playoffs.
But what makes me afraid with the Yankees is teams like the Astros, the Red Sox, because I don't know what it is, but they can't play they don't play well against the Red Sox. They are, and you know what? They've played well against the Rays and the Blue Jays this year, but there's still something there from the past that they've never really played well against those teams. And it's you're 100% right. I'm not confident that I'm not saying they can't win the World Series. Obviously, probably have the best chance to do it. It's just someone needs to show me that this is different. I need to see more proof that this is different.
The only time we're gonna know it's different is when they get to the playoffs and win. Sorry, your screen froze. I didn't know if you saw it, but I don't know where to go next with the Yankees. Big season against the Red Sox. It would be nice to see them play dominant. I know Judge is not playing tonight, which is disappointing. Happens. 162 game season. It's inevitably going to happen. But next time we'll talk. We'll see what the Rangers did. They make a move? Because I think by the next time we speak, a move will have been made. The Yankees will.
To answer then my question at the beginning, who would you like out of the plethora of a variety of centers and everyone they've been talking about the Rangers have been linked to, who would you like them to
I would like
sign
to
or trade for.
I'd like to stand pat with Hedel and just wait till the All-Star break, or not All-Star break. Wait till you get close to the deadline. If he didn't turn into the guy you wanted, great. Go make a deal at the deadline and solve the future. But I do remember when JT Miller, who people are gushing over, was here. We didn't give him a chance to grow into his. He's a Ranger guy. He could have still been on the Rangers, but the Rangers got rid of him. So, like, let's try to take these. Like, we saw some hope from Hedel. Granted, if you would have asked me before the playoffs, I would have been like, no shot. I want no part. He was the guy I was willing to give up. But now it's like, look, they're in a salary cap hell. You can't afford any of these other guys. Whatever you do, it's going to screw up your future. I like Keandre Miller. I want him re-signed. I want all the young kids signed. Lafreniere signed, Kako, Miller. You're going to have Schneider. All those guys I want signed. And then if you get to the break and the team is just like it was this year and they don't have, then you go trade for someone like Miller for the remainder of the year. You don't pay the same price.
You need, though, if you go the Hedel route, they'll still be a good team. But unless he's some all-star, you're not winning the Stanley Cup with Filipino as your second.
Well, you never know. The same thing.
No, what you're saying is smart, but they'll have that basically makes it like a 90% chance that you have to upgrade at the deadline.
I wouldn't say 90%. I mean, we started this conversation where both of us were talking about JT Miller, a former Ranger who scored 99 points last year, that all the fan base gave up on and was over him. So
yeah, well, they're gonna have to. You always would love a guy like Malkin or whatever, but you're gonna have to trade then someone like you're gonna have to. You got to get rid of someone if like this. All this like people like Andrew Kopp and all this stuff. I really would prefer them not go the route of re-signing Strome or Kopp.
No,
I don't think that's your answer.
I don't think there's anyone out there and their price range that is the answer.
Well, Nazem Kadri was the second line center of the Stanley Cup champion. Do you know how good Nazem Kadri is? Like the second line.
Yeah, but no one wanted him in the beginning? Didn't he have a terrible attitude or some sort of problem with the team? He wasn't a good teammate. There was some reason why people weren't into him.
I know, but like my point is
they were talking about trading him at the beginning of last year.
I mean, my point is though, like there's these lines when like you see like you talk about Tampa with Yanni Gord, Goodrow, and Blake Coleman winning the Stanley Cup, and that was supposed to be like the sacred, holy savior line, the third line of their 2021
who knows?
Cup.
The kid line may be that line next year.
Well, yeah, but like I don't know. I would like your idea to work out because I would like to see Filipino and excel and then them not have to spend as much money.
Well, what would be your plan then?
I want someone. I mean, but like the best idea would be Trouba. Really don't. I don't want. I just. I want to be realistic. I want the best player that's going to cost you the least money. That's what I want.
So does every fan in the league.
No, like I'm saying if you're going to go the cheaper route rather than signing a big one, who's the best player that you can go with from that cheaper route? That's what I'm saying.
I think, don't you feel like that's a gamble? Like we all kind of have an idea, like maybe it's this guy, maybe it's this guy.
Like Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin's maybe like a $3 or $4 million a year player who's pretty good.
But is he better? Would you rather have him than Strome if you got rid of Nemeth's contract somewhere else? Like
wait, I know that's been a big. Wait, so if they buy out Nemeth right now, what does that do to the cap?
Basically,
he's $2 million.
It pushes it out into the future. So depending on how many years left, like we're seeing the Rangers are still paying for 3 players' contracts that they bought out.
Shattenkirk, Girardi, and D'Angelo have to get off the payroll.
Yeah, so they take the contract and push it out and extend it, and you still pay it on your salary cap over years. I don't like buying out players.
Did you see the stat that Rick DiPietro will make $1.5 million every July 1st for the next 6-7 years because of his buyout by the Islanders? He had one of the longest contracts ever.
Well,
and
the best. You want to look up Bobby Bonilla's deal. The Mets still paying for that. You don't even know who Bobby Bonilla is, do you? He wasn't playing when you were alive. Look up Bobby Bonilla contract. the Mets have been paying him once a year. They have a thing, and you'll see it on social media. And I think it was last week, actually, Bobby Bonilla Day. The Mets signed the dumbest contract of all time with him, and he's getting paid for the rest of his life, I feel like. I mean, I don't even know how old Bobby Bonilla is, but he's still getting paid by the Mets right now.
It doesn't say what his. Oh, not contract buyout or contract. I want to know what they signed him to. It was.
So if you
How
look,
do you know how many years it was? I
so
can't.
the Met gets paid $1.1 million every July 1st. He's 59 years old.
So he's been out of the league almost 19, like at least 19 years.
I'm looking up. I believe it was a 25. In 2000, the Mets agreed to buy out. He left $6 million on his contract. However, instead of paying Bonilla the $6 million at the time, the Mets agreed to make annual payments for 25 years of $1.2 million, including
Wait, so that
8%
means
interest.
So that means they'll 5 times they'll pay 1.2 million.
25 times.
But you said $6 million.
Yeah,
Wait, so you're saying instead of spending the 6 million at the time, they're gonna go ahead and pay whatever that much is.
Instead of paying in 2000, instead of writing a check for 5.9 million, the Mets agreed to pay him $1.2 million for 25 years consecutively to go away, and they're going to, on top of it, they put 8% interest on it.
Wait, so he's making like in the 30s. Like,
you ever want to mock a Mets fan? Just be like, oh, Bobby Bonilla.
Oh, I mean, I will mock the Mets with that. But what still eats me is, what is Jacoby Ellsbury still on the Yankees payroll, and like A-Rod still getting paid by the Yankees? Like,
that's their contract. When their contract's up is over. The Mets made a deal to get out of this, because you don't buy it. They made a ding dong move because they didn't have the money.
Bothers me. The Ellsbury thing bothers me because I don't think I
go back and talk about Ellsbury.
No, but if he's remember they signed him that contract and he wasn't even good. I mean, like, he was like awful.
Of course. And what would I say?
Red Sox.
Never sign a Red Sox. That's their fault. But that's done and over with. Bobby Bonilla is 59 years old. They're still paying him.
Well, get this. So and we'll wrap it up after this. I was the last, and I know you'll hate this too. Your two least favorite people, the K-Rod cast, was talking about like their last time they did a broadcast. They were talking about like Aaron Judge signing, and A-Rod was saying like by the Yankees not signing him this offseason, it's gonna he's like, I think they'll sign him, but it's gonna cost them much more, obviously.
Yeah, they took a gamble, and right now they're losing. But also,
he said that he talked, and he said he only would say this now that Mariano Rivera is retired, but he said that Mariano said, I don't care if you give me like $100 million a year or like $1 billion, I'll never play for the Red Sox. He told the
also, look, that's the kind of thing I would say too, until somebody makes you. And that I feel that statement came right out of my father and your father's mouth. But it's much easier
until you then see it in front of you. You're like,
take a look at Live Golf. I mean, the Saudis were a part of 9/11, and these people are taking money. But when someone says, "Hey, here's a check for $100 million to play it," you got to be one hell of a person to stand on your morals to turn down $100 million.
Well, that's why I'm so glad that Tiger Woods turned that down. I mean, like, because
he turned down.
They offered him $1 billion. Yep, $1 billion to play there.
Granted, he has $1 billion, but still $1 billion. What you could do with that is beyond belief.
But
anyway, let's wrap it up.
The funny thing with that is he doesn't need that $1 billion, because he's overall in his lifetime he's probably going to make another $1 billion. I mean, because he's not done playing.
I mean, I don't know about another one, but he'll keep making money because of his name. But yes, he doesn't need it, but still, that number, if someone's going to say, like, if someone's going to say, hey, you get to get $1 billion, and be like, oh, maybe I could go buy a piece of the Giants, like, whoa, my attitude's changed a little, you know?
Yeah, that's one of my new dreams after retiring of being a broadcaster. I want to own a franchise if I'm rich enough. A hockey franchise, which is probably not.
That's fun, but you're going to need to do more than broadcasting to make that money. But
yeah,
with that,
win the lottery.
Open a couple franchises, you know? Chick-fil-A franchise, 10 grand.
I would have. How much do you think buying the Rangers would be? Way out.
Really expensive because I think the Rangers, you're probably going to be tied to the Knicks. You're going to be tied to the television because what's his name owns the Cablevision, so he owns MSG. So
Dolan.
so it's all I think it would be tied together. But I'll tell you what the Rangers, what they claim that
The Yankees are like what? The Yankees you have to buy.
They claim that they're
10
the
billion.
most valuable team in the in the NHL is the Rangers, and they're valued at $2 billion.
$2 billion?
$2 billion. That's what it says here.
I think aren't the Yankees like 10 billion or something? I know they're worth like 6-something billion.
The Yankees and the Cowboys are usually the most valuable franchises, and then there's like the European soccer team. The Yankees,
it's all too much, but
that they were
for that.
That's
Hopefully,
the crazy part. You know what they bought the Yankees
down.
for? The Yankees were bought for $8.8 million the year I was born.
8.8 million or billion?
Million. I think they're valued at around.
That's pretty nice.
Billion. Yeah.
Well, with that,
George Steinberg. Well,
yeah, whatever.
Well, we'll be back.
We'll talk
Yankees, Red Sox. We'll be back. We'll talk whatever the Rangers do about the second line center. Hopefully, it's very minimal in my mind, but we shall see. All right, buddy.
Hopefully, a captain's name by then.
I doubt it, but I love you. See you later.
Love you too. See you guys.
Bye.